Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to get into the new palette from Natasha Denona. So as we know, she dropped a new mini palette. You guys know I love the mini palettes. I can't help myself. Now in yesterday's video I told you I was going to be putting up my peachy bronzy look, and that would be going up today. This arrived a day early, so I just went ahead and popped this video up as soon as possible so you guys can hear my thoughts on it. So I created two different looks in this video. As you can see, I got two different eyes, which is fun. But I wanted to really play with the palette and create two different looks in case you guys have already bought the palette, you're wanting a little bit of inspiration, yada, yada, yada. If you guys are new to my channel, my name is Tara Lynn, and I like to keep things very honest and very real here. So if there's something I don't like it. And I'm very honest about that. I don't care what brand likes it, what brand don't. None of that stuff means anything to me. All I care about is making sure that I give an honest review. I value your money, and I value where you spend your money, especially during these horrible financial times that the world is going through right now. We need to really make sure that we are spending our money wisely. And speaking of spending money, I wasn't supposed to buy anything. I'm on a really, really low buy right now, just because we're going through so much. You know, you want to keep things tight. But then I saw this pop up on Trendmood, and I was like, I'm screwed. I'm going to break my buy. And it had almost been, I almost made it 3 weeks not ordering on Sephora. That was a record. I'm just going to say it. That was a record. That was a record for the last 3 years. It was a record. Anyway, okay, whatever. So I broke my no buy. I got it. This palette retails for $25. There are some new shades in here, but there are also some existing shades. Now, coming from somebody like me, I don't have a lot of the larger Natasha Denona palettes. The reason is because I just have not found a larger palette that I absolutely love. One of the reasons for that is I am not a huge fan of the cream powder formula. So the cream powder formula is just so creamy almost that I just have a really hard time blending it out, and it just takes me forever, and I don't like it, and I get frustrated. Now the creamy matte, I absolutely love. And in all of the mini palettes that she has launched thus far, she always has that creamy matte. She doesn't have the creamy powder formula, and I'm so grateful. For me personally, for me to be able to really enjoy Natasha Denona's shadows, I much prefer the mini palettes, just because I know that all 5 of the shades are formulas that I will love. And when you spend $125, or I mean, some of her palettes are $229. When you buy a palette like that for that price, you want to make sure that you love every single shade and you love every formula that's in that palette. And that's just not the case when it comes to her larger palettes. So I always lean towards buying the smaller palettes. Let's go ahead and go through which shades are new and which ones are old, just in case you have a lot of the larger palettes from Natasha Denona and you might already have this palette in your collection. So the first shade right here is called Galaxia, and it is from the Star palette. So if you have the Natasha Denona Star palette, then you already have that shade. It's very beautiful though. It's kind of a really pretty light pink topper shade. It's beautiful. The next shade is Industrial. Now Industrial actually comes from her 28 pan palettes that retail for the $229, and that was the green brown palette. And this shade is stunning. One of the prettiest greens I have ever applied, and I don't have anything like it in my collection. I have nothing like that shade in my collection. Nowadays, when you start collecting makeup, it's very rare to be able to say that you found a shade that you just don't have, and that is the case for this green. I just don't have it. The next shade is called 60s, and that's actually a new shade for this palette, and it's a really beautiful matte green shade that's very easy to blend. It's in the cream to matte formula that, for me personally, I like. And it's a great shade, and it also builds really good on top of itself, which I was really impressed with that. The next shade over is called Vintage Taupe. And Vintage Taupe is actually from the Tropic palette. So if you have the Tropic palette, then you have the shade Vintage Taupe. Now, I am a medium with like a golden undertone as far as my complexion. If you have a darker complexion than I do, that shade is, you're gonna struggle trying to get it to show up on your skin, even though it did do really well on my eye, and it actually built on top of itself very well so that it could build a little bit of dimension. But I think if you're darker than I am, you're going to struggle with that shade. So keep that in mind. The last shade we have is called Pixie. Pixie is stunning. She's just such a beautiful shade, and she's a new shade. So Pixie is new and 60s is new, but the other three are existing shades from other palettes. Now, some people are okay with repetitive shades and some people have issues with repetitive shades. And I think there is something to be said on both sides. And for me personally, I'm okay with this palette because I don't have the Tropic palette. I don't have the 28 pan, green brown palette. And I also don't have the Star palette. So I don't have any of the three palettes that I mentioned. So these shades are brand new to my personal collection. Now, if you are somebody that is a collector of Natasha Denona, then you're going to have three repetitive shades. So before we get into the swatches, I do want to say that I did swatch this palette next to several palettes. Like I swatched and swatched and swatched and swatched. And I don't have anything like it in my personal collection. As far as I tried to just find shades of these two in my collection, really didn't find anything that matched. The only thing I would say that kind of matched was the nude palette, the new nude palette from Huda Beauty. This shade right here in the new nudes, this is called Secret. That shade is very similar to this, what's it called? Vintage Taupe. This one is from Huda Beauty. This one is from the Natasha Denona. They kind of have the same look, but a little bit different tone. That was the only shade that I could find in my entire collection that is close to this. It's like a dusty pink. I like it because it's not a really bright pink. I don't like to wear a lot of bright pinks, whether it's the hot pink or the bright baby pink or whatever it is. This was a really perfect pink for me personally and what I like. But as far as the greens, I didn't find anything. I did not find anything remotely close to it. Now this shade right here, which is called the Galaxia, that shade I did also find in the nudes, the new nudes palette from Huda. This shade right here called Daydream. This one right here. So that one was kind of close to it, but still not even close enough to say that they are alike. This one is from Natasha Denona and this one is from the Huda Beauty. So again, very beautiful, but the Huda Beauty was a little bit more pink. And this one is a little bit more of like a lighter pink. But I searched everywhere. I pulled out all of my palettes, pulled them all, laid them all out. I just did not find anything in my collection that was similar to this palette. So this was definitely, a good buy from my personal collection. So that's all the information about the palette. Let's go ahead and jump into the two eyeshadow looks that I created using the palette. I will get into the swatches and then I will get into my full final thoughts at the end of the video. So without further ado, let's jump right into the tutorials. Okay, so let's get started on look number one. Because this is a new palette, I wanted to do two different looks with it. I'm gonna go ahead and do one look on one eye and one look on the other. I think on this eye, I'm gonna start with the green right here. I love this like army olive green. It's one of my favorites. Now I'm gonna take my makeup wipe and just kind of rub my brush on it. I've been doing that lately rather than like spraying it with setting spray because I'm going through so much setting spray and I hate it. I'm just using my makeup wipes that I use while I'm getting ready anyway. So I'm gonna grab this shade right here and I'm just gonna put it like all over my lid. Oh, that shade's so pretty. It's got some silver particles in it. It is absolutely stunning. Like one of the prettiest greens I've ever applied. I don't have anything like that. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. You guys, that green is spectacular. I mean, look how much it's shining on my eye. Ooh, I'm excited. Okay, I'm gonna go in with the green and I'm just gonna see how pigmented it is and just see if I can like, slowly kind of build it up. Put this in my crease just to kind of emphasize that green. That green deserves the spotlight because it's so pretty on its own. It's almost like all you need is something in the crease to kind of pull it together, but oh my gosh. And this green is really quite pigmented and it's working really well, actually. And I don't think I'm going to add the other shade with this. I think I'm just gonna leave it like this. Kind of pack that into this outer corner. One of the prettiest greens I've ever seen, you guys. I am not lying. One of the prettiest greens I've ever seen. I'm gonna dip into this matte green, and I wanna build a little bit of the dimension. I wanna create the dimension around my crease. So I'm gonna go ahead and just apply that color right through here. Okay, so I do want to bring that all up into my inner corner. To bring that shade into the inner corner right here. And just kind of, yes. Oh my flippin'. Ah, so good. Take that small pencil brush and go into the matte green. I'm gonna go into the mini Glam palette, and I'm gonna grab this shade right here. I think that shade will go perfect with this green shade. I'm thinking I want to put a little bit of this shade that I love so much on the lower lash line. Why not? So I'm gonna grab a little bit of it right here. So this is the final look, and I'm sure you guys already know I'm obsessed with that green. I will also say that that matte green blends out to a perfection. It just does. It's pigmented, but also blends. Very easy to work with and very easy to go over that shimmer shadow with. So once I put this lash on, I went ahead and grabbed my little pencil brush. I wet it down with my makeup wipe. Then I went into that dark green shade and just kind of lined around the lash band just to kind of make it, you know, melt into the eye look. And I'm obsessed. I think this is just absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. That's it for the look number one. Let's go ahead and jump into look number two. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump into look number two. Of course, I want to touch on the pink, and you know, I'm just so obsessed with this green eye that I'm like, oh, I just want to do the other eye, but I can't. I want to play with more shades. I will have plenty of time to play with this palette. Let's go into this pink shade. So I'm going to put some here on this outer corner, but it does build really nicely. I am very impressed with the way that this matte shade builds. It's so pretty. I think I'm going to do it on the inner corner as well. Now, as you can see, I'm able to build a little bit of dimension within that shade. So kind of taking a denser brush to kind of pack it on, you can really build up that shade. Of course, I'm going to go into this shade first. Okay, so it's a very light pink. I'm probably going to apply the rest of this with a brush. But I am going to run my brush over my makeup wipe and kind of just get it a little damp. Oh, I recommend applying it with a damp brush. Very beautiful. Oh my gosh, that shade is so freaking pretty. This one looks much better and much more impactful when you apply it with a damp brush. It just is. It's just absolutely stunning. I'm gonna go into that shade, kind of pick it up, and I want to kind of bring that into the crease just lightly so that there's no like line where, you know, the shimmer and the mattes merge. I want to blend out that line, so I'm bringing it out into the crease as well, just over top. Now I'm going to take my ring finger gonna go into this first shade right here. I'm gonna put it right. Oh. It's like one of those really beautiful, like, topper shades. Okay, I'm gonna grab this shade from the Mini Nudes palette, one of my favorite palettes from her. And the mini size, I'm gonna grab this middle shade right here, and I'm gonna put that on my inner corner. Kind of used that shade to kind of open like the inner corner of my eye, and so I'm gonna kind of blend it in. So this is the final look for look number 2, and I love it. I do. Beautiful, beautiful. I had no problems with the blend. Look how great that pink blended. It has that gradient effect where, you know, I was able to get it kind of dark, and then it was able to blend out really beautifully. You know, the color builds on top of itself very well. If you're darker complected than I am, I don't know how much you're going to be able to build that shade, to be quite honest with you. I was able to build it pretty good, but you might have to go into, you know, some of your darker, like neutral toned brown shades to kind of really give it the dimension. But for me personally, with my skin tone, I was definitely able to give it dimension. Hands down, beautiful. Just an Okay, so my final thoughts. This is a bomb palette, like such a good palette. Now I know that the minis are expensive for how much you get, so we all know that. I love all the minis. I have several of the minis, and they're actually one of my favorites. As you probably know, the green shade is definitely my favorite. One of the prettiest greens I've ever applied. I don't have anything like it in my collection. And to be quite honest with you, these shades are kind of like normal shades. I mean, let's be honest, there's nothing really different about them, right? But they're very beautiful. Having this shade right here to be able to bring to life either one of these. Now, you don't really need to bring this to life, but even like if you're somebody that just doesn't like a lot of shimmer and you just want something to kind of make your matte eye look pop, you could put this on. It's very lightweight, very beautiful, but the texture of it is just perfection. This palette is a 10 out of a 5. Fabulous. I am not disappointed at all. I love this palette. It is definitely a 10 of a 10. If this is something that you have had your eye on, oh my gosh. It was worth breaking my no buy. It was. I'm gonna be honest. I was feeling a little guilty when I bought it, but it was worth it because this is fabulous and I am so happy to have it. So that's it. It's a fabulous palette, and I don't think you guys will be disappointed. Thank you all so much for hanging out with me. I hope that this review was helpful. If you have any questions, or if you actually bought the palette, let us know in the comments down below how you're liking it, because all I'm doing is sitting in front of a camera and giving you my perception. Give us your take, because your guys' information is just as important as mine. Let us know if you got it and how you like it. I love it. I'm like obsessed. But anyway, I hope you guys all have a wonderful weekend. Stay safe and healthy, and I love you all so much. Bye.